Ming Hao, thank you. It does remind me of my first days close to 40 years ago when I was standing in my first year of medical school. I have to echo all of my colleagues here. I truly am humbled and overwhelmed by the honor of being elected and inducted in the Miller-Coulson Academy, and thank the family for the opportunities and responsibilities this gives us. Scott, you're like me, technical. In the few minutes I have for my reflections, I hope to highlight that passion is embedded in compassion, which forms the basis for the relationship with our patients, and that not all knowledge we use every day and what we do is truly in science alone. I feel fortunate to have been educated in the 1960s. My generation was enveloped by the social unrest embodied in the civil rights movement and the weight of the Vietnam War. Advocacy, volunteerism, and a passion that we should repair the world enveloped our campus lives. In the 1970s, this spirit continued to influence my formative patient interactions. The patient as partner grew from these experiences and always has remained a central aspect of my core values. I'd like to share with you two patient stories that hopefully will demonstrate this. Last month, Joanne and I were invited to attend the first communion mass for a very special little girl. Her mother's been one of my patients for the last dozen or so years. She and her husband arrived from Italy via Germany at my office in search of a transplant nephrologist for follow-up care. She didn't speak English, and I certainly don't speak Italian, although my daughter thinks I do. We settled on German. She was in her mid-30s at the time. When I took the history, I asked her whether her goals included having a child. Astonished, with tears in their eyes, she and her husband shared that they had been told she could never become pregnant, nor could they adopt because she was a transplant recipient. We reviewed together the risks, and I referred them to obstetrical and genetic consultation here at Johns Hopkins. Fast forward another 3 to 4 years. Her lab work crossed my desk. I picked up the phone. We'd long since converted our conversations to English. I asked, "What's going on?" I listened and I said, "You're pregnant." And she said, "No way." Fast forward another 7 months. Her daughter was born. She was baptized. She learned to crawl, to walk, and to converse bilingually, but without the accent of her parents. Her mom has stayed healthy, and God willing, there'll be a confirmation, graduations, and a future for her and her family that continues to be filled with goodness and happiness. Taking a history is decidedly low-tech and arduous, especially if you're not speaking in your own language. A history is probably the least compensated of all our activities, but enables us to understand in ways nothing else the values and priorities of our patients and families that they trust we can help them fulfill. My second story is a bit more personal, where my family and I were at the receiving end of medical care. In the summer of 1995, my mom, at age 78, sustained an intracerebral hemorrhage. She was moved from a hospital in Indiana by helicopter to the University of Chicago. Thanks to Southwest Airlines, who agreed if needed to put me in a jump seat, I was able to accompany her at the beginning of her journey through the continuum of medical care. My mom had a living well, and it stipulated that in the setting of terminal illness, she did not want any invasive procedures. What was not clear to us was how to direct her care in the settings of these previous articulated desires. She was critically ill, but was she terminal? Mom had a craniotomy to repair the aneurysm, prolonged status epilepticus and ventilator support, tracheotomy, gastroscopy, hydrocephalus, VP shunt placement, and then came rehab. Upon transfer back to Indiana, the progress that she had made in the acute hospital seemed to have melted away. It was only finally appreciated upon her subsequent air evacuation a week later to Baltimore, after listening to us, her family, that her decline was due to a new subdural hematoma. Time and again throughout her course, we were advised that Mom would not improve. We just simply didn't agree. Had it not been our involvement in a compassionate team that continuously listened to us and took chances with us, my mother would have lived a shortened life in a nursing home, diapered, tube-fed, and unable to make her needs known. The system didn't care for us, for her. fine people, professionals with their family, cared for her. Instead of being institutionalized 9 months later at our home, despite her aphasia, she told us, things aren't the way they were. They won't be, but I am thankful for every day I have with you. 2 weeks later at my daughter's bat mitzvah, she shared with our family the blessings that one says for reaching a happy, joyous occasion. We increasingly rely upon evidence-based processes and protocols to improve safety, efficiency, and clinical outcomes. We all acknowledge, however, that medicine is both a science and an art. The art of medicine still relies upon individualized patient care, without which our best efforts will fall short. Our patients should motivate us and energize us to put passion back into compassion. We should not hesitate to push hard to ensure that policies and systems designed to optimize management do not deter our efforts to provide every individual the best possible care tailored for them. We must always remain cognizant of and help as much as possible to alleviate the inevitable emotional suffering experienced by each of our patients and their families. While we're guided by protocols, the art of medicine will always be based upon the trust our patients and families have placed in us to address their individual needs and goals. Thank you for this opportunity.